Thank you very much. Welcome back, Mr. Jamie Lula and Chris and Paul. Thank you. And how nice to see you on the stage, Dreamer. I promised him I wouldn't talk to him because he has to interpret everything I say. I like that power. Okay. Isn't it wonderful to have a place to come to be reminded of what we already know? Yeah. The whole year has been about that. Our theme is practice, to practice our religion. You know, will people know when they look at us in the world what our religion is? Will it be evident? So this whole year we've been looking at different things that we might do as spiritual practices that express our religion. Last month we talked about service as a spiritual practice. And this month we are shifting our focus to talk about one of the most beautiful and one of the most natural and one of the most easy ways to express divinity, to express your religion, my religion, and that is through giving. Giving is a spiritual practice. And the topic for this morning is as you give, and it comes from the affirmation that we said this morning, joyously I give with an attitude of abundance, knowing that as I give, the style in which I give, the atmosphere in which I give, we call that the consciousness of my giving, is what determines the way it comes back. So that's the idea of it. And it refers to an idea that comes from the Bible that I brought along so that we could read together. Won't you join me? Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. For with the same measure that ye meet, it shall be measured to you again, which is a wonderfully clear statement of a metaphysical idea, a law that we call the law of correspondence, which says basically that there is this beautiful and mysterious, elegant and lovely relationship between the inside and the outside. The inside of a thing is related to the outside of the thing. The inside of my giving is related to the outside of my experience of giving. That's what it's all about. There's a beautiful word in there, an old word, you don't use it much these days, meet. It's a great word. It means to dispense, or to give out, to dole out, to distribute. And the idea is that the same measure that you use, in other words, whatever container you use to measure out, has something to do with the way that you get back. There's a relationship in it, a correspondence. But you know the way of the Bible. You can't just depend on the surface meaning of a thing to get the real understanding. You have to go a little deeper. It's not talking about the actual size of a cup, although there is probably some wisdom in that too. We have to think of it as a symbol. The measure is the style, the atmosphere, the consciousness of your giving. And the idea is that it matters. So the question for us then this month might be, how do you give? What's the style inside of you? What's your theme when you give? Do you give joyously with an attitude of abundance? Or do you have a stranglehold on your giving? When you give, are you thinking about control? Is reciprocation on your mind, recognition? Do you give fearfully? Or do you give hopefully that something will happen? You know, whatever it is, it's not right or wrong. It's just to become aware with us that that's the measure, that's the theme, and it has something to do with setting up the experience of our life around us. There's something there worthy of examination. You know, sometimes my theme around giving can control my experience of how I participate with giving, either stop me or encourage me. I had an experience of that with I'll say a man who used to come to the center and used to be one of our top givers, and a sudden and unexpected change in life circumstances put him in a position where he couldn't give at the level he used to give. And he eventually came to see me about it and said, I feel terrible. I'm embarrassed about it. I have a tremendous amount of shame that I cannot give what I committed to give. And I said to him, well, I know from my own learning that this is an important time to give. So can you give $1? He said, yes, I can. I said, that's very good. That's very important. Let's start there. I want you to put $1 in the envelope every week and put it into the offering. And he said, okay, I can do that. And I said, I also would like you to put your name on it. And he said, I can't do that because I'm ashamed of the amount. And I said to him, you didn't learn that here. Right? No. We teach about the atmosphere of your giving being cause, not the amount. So he was letting his shame about the amount, which is a cultural idea, it was preventing him and stopping him from having the joy of the experience of giving, which is the antidote. Yeah. You see, amount is an odd thing. And that's what's tricky about this little biblical phrase. It sounds like it's saying the exact amount you give is the exact amount you're going to get. That's what it sounds like, this for that. But you've got to go on. You've got to read on, and you see it's not saying that at all. Consciousness-wise, maybe, but it carries on and it says, in good measure. You know what a good measure is? It's not a cheated measure. It's the right amount. You get what you bargain for. I was in Thailand once, and I was on a street market, and there was a silk merchant, and I purchased a piece of silk from her, and I bargained for it and got the whole deal, and then when she picked it up to put it into a paper bag behind the counter, she dropped a different piece of silk in that had been sun damaged, So when I got back to the United States, it wasn't in good measure. I did not get what I bargained for. You see, you're not going to get that kind of deal. It says, pressed down. Once I got a gift basket, and it looked so sumptuous, but actually all the items on the top were standing on filler. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was made to look great. No, you got to clean out all the filler and fill it up if you want it to be a sumptuous big gift basket. Right? And so this is what that's saying. It's going to be shaken together so all the space is filled, running over. So in other words, there's another meaning to this. It says, you're going to get much more than you bargained for, especially when you have the attitude, the atmosphere, the consciousness of giving. Then you don't just get what you put into it. You get much, much more. That's just the way of things. That's the way of giving. However, there is a warning in there. There's a little trickiness there. Because it cannot be manipulated. You cannot use this for personal gain. You cannot use this to control people or the universe. See, that's the thing about it. The way of giving, according to the law of correspondence, is if you shift the focus of giving to getting, right, you break the formula. And then it starts to work out in a kind of weird way, almost like it's working against you, when in fact what it's doing, according to the law of correspondence, is corresponding with your hidden agenda. So you get measured back what you're meting out. Trying to control with your giving. Enjoy all the people around you that show up trying to control you with their giving. It's the way of things. So giving then, as a spiritual practice, can never ever be about getting something. Oh no. Disastrous. Giving then is about doing something for its own sake because it's how you express your God idea. It's how you express the love of your life. It's your spiritual practice. You do it because it's what you do. You do it because when you don't do it, you feel separate from life and you can barely breathe. You do it because when you do it, you come alive. You do it because when you do it, you feel your connection to all that is. You do it because it's what you are. And then when you step back and you disconnect the idea of giving to get, then you can see giving in its splendor and all of its possibility. And then it comes to life and you see there are all kinds of forms to giving. You can give a smile. You can give help. You can help a fashion-challenged friend pick a good tie without making him feel bad. You can be generous with your forgiveness. You can do something to reduce pollution in the world. You can give somebody space. You can give understanding. You can give a bit of help. You can make a donation to a cause you believe in. What you can't give. Sometimes I walk around Spring Lake with a friend of mine and we'll sometimes play a game with the people that walk in the opposite direction. We'll give all of them a smile and a greeting to see which will return it. It's a fun game, but you got to be unattached to the results. Because you know what? Some people have an issue with receiving. They don't know what to do with it. And that's the point about a practice. The whole idea of a practice is you can't be discouraged if at first you do not succeed, or if it does not produce in you the feeling. We must be consistent and intentional so that it becomes a discipline. Or as the author of the book for the month says, it's a sacred art, an art that when practiced can create for us a whole lifestyle of generosity. And when we have a lifestyle that's infused with generosity, it connects us to each other. It connects us to the world. It connects us to divinity. It reduces tension. It increases creativity. And it ripples out in its effect in the world. It passes on to others. It's contagious. You can think about it when you're giving as if you are changing the world. Think about it as the trickle-up effect. And you can have faith in that. Don't let the world get you down if at first it doesn't smile back at you. You can have faith in the trickle-up effect. You just stand in it. It's a transforming power. Giving is. In the book, the author writes these words. Won't you read them with me? The transforming power of any spiritual discipline comes with regular practice, but rewards inherent in the practice of giving can be reaped from the very beginning. So there's two very wonderful thoughts in this statement. And the first is about discipline, regular practice, regular, structured, consistent. Because if it's not that, then it's just a tendency. And if it's not conscious, mindful, then it's just accidental. The second part of it is thrilling, though. It says, well, even if it's an accidental tendency, even if you just do a little bit of giving, you will immediately be able to experience the benefits of this beautiful, natural, wonderful practice. Right away, you will feel good about your giving because, in my opinion, when you and I are giving, we are duplicating the nature of the divine. And then that is when we feel most at home, most ourselves. She continues to say, Won't you read it with me? I say this because giving sometimes gets put off as a practice to be taken up later, or when we have more money, or when we're older. But only robs you of the chance to experience the joys of giving now. Oh, yeah. And I read that and I think about the times when I feel no joy about giving. Have you ever been in that space where you feel poor in spirit, for any reason? And it's very difficult to practice generosity when we feel poor. I'm talking about times when our heart is broken, or a dream is shattered, or you feel betrayed in your soul, and you're lost on the path, or when your resources energetically are just low, or when your cash is low, or whatever it is, you feel poor. And we can feel poor even if we've got money in the bank, right? I mean, poor is a state of consciousness that has nothing to do with finances. And when we feel poor, those are the times when the thought of giving is just not attractive. And yet, paradoxically, giving is exactly the antidote. Doing the very thing that we don't feel like doing is often the way out. I've learned that. Now I've learned that through a simple act of giving, I can restore my soul. I can put my spirit back on track. Because it's like I step back into my true nature as soon as I begin giving. So I start to look when I feel down and out of sorts, disconnected. I look for the places where I've stopped giving, and I find them. Yeah. Where have I stopped giving my attention? It could be something as simple when I get home, I don't appropriately give attention to my cat. Or when I come to work, I don't appropriately pay attention to my coworkers. I look for the places. Or where have I stopped giving love? Sometimes it's in the form of a plant in my home. I have stopped loving it. You can find it. You just look. Look at the places. Have you stopped smiling? Have you stopped giving a smile? How are you moving through the world, Edward? Have you stopped service? Are you doing anything for anybody, anytime? When's the last time you gave a gift? When's the last time you parted, Edward, with something you cherish? When's the last time you gave something to somebody that you know they cherish and would be happy to receive? I can do all of it. While all the time being very, very careful to do it all as cleanly as possible. Right? Remember Luke. Without conditions as much as possible. Come to the table as clean as possible, just like we talked with service, because if I'm all about recognition, acknowledgement, getting a thank you note, having power, achieving a status, disastrous. Same with giving. So as much as possible, I must enter into my religious practice of giving as cleanly as possible, stepping away from the idea that it is a business transaction or a bargain. I just do it because it's me. Besides, if I give you something with an expectation of a certain reciprocation, even if it's your loyalty or your affection or your recognition, it might be that I am limiting the way the universe can pour its pressed downness out onto me because I'm so focused on my preconceived idea of what you must return to me. So now, and I learned this at the center, when I give, I enjoy the thought that I don't really know how, when, why I'll receive. I just know it's coming. And I cast wide my gaze. From whence shall come my good today? My job is to love and give. And let it come from wherever it is. Now, in the same way that becoming aware of the way I give, the consciousness of my giving is important, the same is the case with receiving, because some people challenged with receiving. And it's going to be the focus of our discussion on first Wednesday evening service. We're going to talk about the consciousness of receiving. It's the other end of the spectrum. It's just as important. And I think you and I can practice being aware of how we receive by paying attention to all the different ways, sometimes unexpected, beautiful ways that we are supported just in one day by the universe, by people, by inanimate objects. That's very key. In fact, we've put together this month, after every single service, directly after the service in room number 10, through that door, there's a free mini workshop for anyone. It's called the Unexpected Abundance Club. And if you go to it, you'll receive a free booklet, a spiritual resource guide, giving as a spiritual practice, with assignments for you for every single day this month as a way of practicing together. And so you'll get this free resource there. You can also download it for free off of our website, but you cannot purchase it from the bookstore. You have to go to the workshop. Or you can come on Wednesday evening when we will talk about receiving, and you can get one free there also. But back to giving. There's so many things to say about giving. I can talk about it forever. I think about giving as also an act of planting seeds of possibility for the future. That's the power of giving. Through our generosity, we can shape the future. It can also be an act of gratitude as a way of acknowledging the source of your spiritual inspiration, or a way of acknowledging the good work that is done by an organization who does work in the world that you yourself don't do, but you resonate with. You know, that's the power of it. It has that kind of reach. I mean, giving, what it can do. It can encourage, it can inspire, it can validate, it can nurture, it can shape, it can empower, it can support. And we're a giving center. Our center gives, acknowledges and gives. And one of the ways we give is we give, and it's a small portion of our revenue, we give to 12 nonprofit partners every single year. We receive nominations from people in the community who have been touched by the work of a nonprofit organization, or they have some direct connection with that nonprofit. And then we select 12 of those, and you know, we hear from one of them each month. And it's an extension of our giving. There's this tremendous feeling of being connected to the work that these organizations do in the world. Truly connects us. And so far we've heard from 7 of them. I brought the list along. Legal Aid of Sonoma County, it's helping at-risk children and adults obtain shelter. Children's Village, it's providing safe, stable, nurturing homes for siblings who are foster children so that they can stay together in the foster program. Youth Link, providing employment opportunities and educational development for teens in West County. Verity, Sonoma County Rape Crisis Center, is working to eliminate abuse, and especially sexual abuse and assault and violence. And Earl Baum Center for the Blind, serving people with sight loss. And the Khmer Foundation, empowering the lives of Cambodian children through education and quality of life assistance. And one of our practitioners was out there at that foundation in Cambodia watching the work being done. We're directly connected. And then we heard just last week from the Sonoma Humane Society, rehabilitating and placing animals in loving homes. And then this month, and we'll hear from one of the directors later, from PDI, a surgery center which treats children who are living with severe tooth decay, so that they can be relieved from that constantly distressing, distracting pain. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And I mention this because we're gearing up right now to receive nominations again for the year 2014. So here's a way that you can give. You can give a nomination as a way of acknowledging the work of an organization that you're connected to by your heart. And then you can pick up a form at the information table. It has to be back to us by August 25th. And then from those nominations, we'll select 12 for next year, so we can stay in close personal contact with the beautiful work that is being done in the world. Can feel ourselves through our giving contributing to a world that works for everyone. You know, there are some things that I've learned about giving here at the center that are really important, and I think I just want to articulate them. And the first one is this, that giving is not only for the rich, it's not only for the connected or the famous or the fortunate, it's for everyone. It's something that everyone has the right to do, to practice and grow through practicing and doing. It's for everyone. So there are some keys I picked up along the road from my studies here at the center, and they're expressed in the negative, but I leave them like that because they're such powerful reminders for me. And the first one is this: never think of yourself as someone who has nothing to give. Make it your life adventure to find what it is you have to give and see if by doing so you are expressing your God idea. Are you interested in spiritual living? How does it show? And the second one is this: never become someone who does not give. No. Make it a regular practice to the point where it becomes a natural expression of who you are. Otherwise, if you're all about receiving and all channels flow into you, it becomes tight and dead. And then the third one, which is a story I've shared with you before. It's the story of me going to a prosperity teacher because I wanted to learn more about being prosperous in this world. And what she did was to review with me my giving practice, my financial giving practice. And at that time, it was more like a tendency, an accidental tendency. And she said, no, I can't take you as a student because you haven't even identified yourself as a giver. I won't be able to do anything. She said, no, you go about and establish for yourself a regular, structured, conscious giving system. And then you come back to me when you've practiced that for a good while, and I'll tell you what, you won't even need me as a teacher then. Because, and here's the point, the giving itself, the act of giving itself, will teach you everything you need to know about who you are and what power flows through you. This is beautiful. You can prove your own God experience by just identifying yourself as you truly are and acting accordingly. Amazing. Let us pray. There is one power, and that power is all there is. It is the source of all creation, the mind out of which creation is formed, is the energy of creation, is the presence and love of all that is. And by means of this prayer, we are identifying ourselves as being in that, part of that, expressions of it, so that we may remember that its infinity is available through us. Its ever self-givingness, if I can make that up, is what we are. And that we have in every moment the freedom of choice to stand in that flow of divine circulation or to step out of it in consciousness. And today we rededicate ourselves to our true identity so that we may act in accordance with the beautiful flow of life, thereby supporting and contributing to a world that truly works for everyone. I invite you now to breathe in with me and exhale into a moment of quiet contemplation.